I'm curious kind of if you have a big difference between somebody seeing your ad one time, becoming a lead, versus you have to keep retargeting them.
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. Watching the flow, sometimes people have to see our website like 10 times. So I'll see it came from Google SEO, and then they came back through Google pay-per-click, then they came back through Facebook, then they came back through an email, and then filled out a form. So we're seeing you have to really stay in front of people.
Hey guys, this is Sharat with REsimpli. I'm excited for this mastermind call. We've been, as you noticed, a couple of weeks ago, we had a guest come on and we had a fantastic call. So we thought, why not just bring in other guests, other industry experts, rather than just having these calls just so one-dimensional from my experience, from kind of what I'm doing in my business, have other people come on these calls. So we reached out to Bryan and his partner, and we had a fantastic call with them. And we thought, they would add tons and tons of value to you guys. So we thought bring them on. Welcome, Bryan. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, oh man, thank you so much for coming on the call. And guys, if I can ask you, if you guys are okay having your camera on, it just makes it a lot more fun, a lot more interactive. Mike, Claire, thank you for doing that. But okay, if you other guys can have your camera on, just makes it more, feels like a more interactive meeting. Cool. All right, Bryan, this is very laid back. There's no structure. I mean, we just want to make sure that, as I talked about, we want to make sure we add as much value as we can. Any questions people have, investors have, we want to do that, answer those questions. So if you want to just kind of start with the introduction, you've done lots and lots of really cool things. So if you want to start with the introduction, and then we can go from there. I can start with some questions, and then as other people have any questions, then we can go from there. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that works for me. And yeah, the whole purpose is to give value. So any questions you guys have, I'm going to answer. There's no hooks or anything like that. So feel free. That's what I'm here for. My background, I got into digital marketing back around 2004. I got involved with a website. It was called Odesk back in the day. Now it's called Upwork. So I started doing SEO and digital marketing way back then, freelancing, just consulting with people for like 20 bucks an hour. That grew into a business where I was dealing with like large national and international companies handling e-commerce and like really big brands. And so I did full service digital marketing, and I got into real estate probably 9-10 years ago now. I found my first property on, I got into real estate back in 98. I went to Ron LeGrand seminar, got into that, failed miserably. And then I got back into it probably about 10 years ago. Bought my first deal on Craigslist, saw the wholesale fee, and the numbers made sense with the wholesale fee. So don't get me wrong, but I'm like, $15,000 to find a deal. Let me see if I can put up a website and generate my own leads. And I did real well at that. And that's kind of how I merged marketing with real estate. I'm a buy and hold investor. So I do the BRRR method. I own about 25 properties in my zip code. And yeah, I just buy and hold and rent out. I'm an active investor. I deal with sellers, and I'm a digital marketer that helps investors as well.
Right. Yeah, I was reading about, looking into information that you sent over. So you have all your properties in one zip code. Is that correct?
Yep.
And you live in that zip code too?
Right.
Wow. So you're super familiar with that zip code. And
I just don't want to drive.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. That makes sense. And then every property that you've bought, you've done BRRR method on those properties. So for anyone who's not familiar, if you just want to share a little bit more about what BRRR method is, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So what I do is I find properties. Right when I got started, I found properties and I had to put 20% down, and I took a commercial loan on them because I didn't have enough money to buy the property cash. So now what I do is I saved up cash, and now I buy properties cash, I fix them, and then I go to the local bank. And as long as the property appraises, I take a commercial loan on it, and they give me my money back. So it's kind of like I get houses for free. I buy them, put my cash into it, and then get all my money back in 3 months, give or take. And then I rent them out, and then the tenant pays it.
And what's your buying criteria? Let's say if a house is worth 100,000, right? What's your max buy price you would pay? And then, assuming, let's say it needs $20,000 in repair costs, like, are you doing some sort of like won't go over 70-80% of the total ARV in terms of your total cost?
Yeah, I can actually pay more than most investors. I look at it just simple math. If it's $100,000 property, I need it to rent for $1,500, like 1.5%. If it rents for $1,000 on a $100,000 house, I'm going to roughly break even with where my taxes and things are in my neighborhood. So that usually ends up being over 70% ARV. In my case, it doesn't matter because that's not my primary business and I don't need the income. But most people flipping things like that, you got to be 70%.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions now. And guys, if you have any questions, either put them in the chat or unmute yourself. So totally feel free. So Bryan, I'm going to ask you a question. So you are an expert on digital marketing. So what are you noticing in this market that's working really well for real estate investors? Do you have any like some tips and tricks to share on that?
Yeah, I noticed some things in this space. So number one, any type of marketing works if you do it consistently. So I just happen to do digital because that's what I do. And I'm seeing Facebook works really well if you send people through a website. So on Facebook, I don't know how savvy you are on the marketing side, people listening, but you have two different ways to market on Facebook. You have something called Facebook lead forms, which is where somebody fills out a form on Facebook. Facebook auto populates the lead's information, the seller's information into that form, and they call that a lead. You can get those leads very cheap. I prefer not to do them because it's pretty low quality. What I prefer to do is I prefer to have them click it. The ad looks the same. Somebody will click it. It directs them to a website. And I normally want to ask on the first page, like phone number, address, name, maybe email. And then after that, I want to ask additional questions because what I'm looking at is I want the website and the form questions to kind of vet the leads. So I'm not trying to get as many to go through as possible. I'm trying to get as many qualified ones. And I want people that aren't very serious to drop off. I want to give them hurdles. So I see that works really well. In this market, I do see a lot more people filling out forms that are listed on the MLS because the market changed. Sellers haven't really realized that the market's changing and they owe too much on their house and they're panic mode. So we're seeing a little bit of that. And I'm seeing anyone doing ads. I see a lot of people trying to get really cheap leads. I would urge you to focus on quality. And what I mean by that is run ads that say, sell your house fast, or we buy houses cash. So like make them very transparent versus some people I will see their ads and it's like, contact us to see how much your house is worth. You'll get real cheap leads that way too. But the leads that come through, they're not looking to, they may not be looking to sell. They're just curious. So my recommendation is target higher quality leads and pay more for them, but you have a high closing ratio, if that makes sense, you know?
We've tried Facebook ads a couple of different times, and we honestly haven't had good results. I even asked in our Facebook group to see if anybody's had good luck with Facebook ads. So we haven't, but we tried the lead form method where they were filling out a lead within the Facebook system. And then they were just, you're right, the quantity of leads was good, but just the quality was so bad, it didn't even make sense to just go through so many leads. So when you're running ads, like how are you targeting those ads? I know Facebook changed some algorithm, a couple of years ago. How are you still able to target those? Are you doing retargeting to those people that have already been on your website, or are you just doing like cold traffic also?
Yeah, that's a good question. So number one, when doing Facebook or Google, I see a lot of people run ads and they don't have the proper conversion tracking on their website. So just in a nutshell, before we dive into that, Google and Facebook will give you a code when you set up your ad account. Facebook has a pixel, Google has a script. You need to put that code on your entire website. So what that's doing is that's allowing Facebook to see what's kind of going on when traffic goes to your site. So that's step one. That's where a lot of people stop. They just put that code on. What is very important is to put an event pixel, an event tracker code on your thank you page or whatever page happens after somebody fills out the form. Reason being, with Facebook is behavior based. So if you go onto Amazon or some website and you're looking at shoes, your whole Facebook feed is going to be filled with shoes for the next week. Same thing with this. We're targeting people based on behavior. So a lot of times we'll go broad and we send traffic to the website and we have a lead objective we have the objective of the campaign is lead. So we're telling Facebook, give us leads. And if we get enough people to fill out our form, they start seeing what's the demographic and behavior of the people that turn into leads, and they can put ads in front of more people like that. Does that make sense?
Right. And then it's almost like a lookalike audience of people, and then they would use the algorithm to put you more in front of people that match kind of the criteria that you'd said.
Yeah, kind of. So on the lookalikes, I haven't found much success with them. So in the real estate space, Facebook limits us due to discrimination. So we have real estate, you have, I believe it's credit and employment. So that takes a lot of our targeting away. We can't target by zip code. We can't target by sex, age, things like that. So we kind of have to go broad. So that's one thing. Whenever you're pushing traffic through there, it's more based on the behavior. So here's an example of what I would do. If I'm setting up a campaign, I'll have our website. I'll have campaign number 1 is cold traffic. The whole purpose of that is to target traffic in the areas we want leads from. And in that campaign, I will exclude website visitors, leads, engagers. I want to exclude anybody who's ever engaged with our business in the past, right? So there's inside, I believe it's at the ad set level, you can pick, I want to exclude those audiences. First, so that campaign's sole purpose is to find you new people. Then I'll set up a second campaign. Say we have a $50 budget. I'll put $45 to the cold campaign. I'll put $5 a day to a retargeting campaign. What that's doing is only showing ads to people that have seen our website before, who've engaged with our page, and we'll exclude leads there also, because we don't want to show ads to people who've already filled out our form. So I usually break it down like in simple terms that way. So we're kind of making a small funnel. Cold traffic sees our website. If they don't fill out a form, we're going to retarget them. And with the ads, a lot of times the cold traffic ads might just be a beat up house saying, sell your house fast. The retargeting traffic may be a video saying, hey, I'm Bryan, I'm in Pittsburgh. Here's a testimonial, and put a testimonial video or things to try to build your credibility, because they've already shown that they want to sell their house. Now we need to sell them on why you need to do business with us.
Got it. Okay, so you're doing different ads for cold traffic versus people that are just retargeting. Cool. Mike has a question. Do you have conversion API set up in your Facebook campaigns? Have you noticed a difference in cost per lead? I have been trying to set up, but not even Facebook tech pros have been able to get it working properly. LOL. So sounds like a technical question. So if you want to jump in.
Yeah. And I found the same thing. So I target based on the pixel. So I do the Facebook event pixel. I've tested it with API and I haven't really seen a difference there. API should work just the same. It just seems like a bottleneck because I had to set it up through like Zapier and different ways we set it up. And I thought there were too many moving parts. So I've always just stuck with targeting based on the pixel.
Mike, does that answer your question? Cool. All right. And Bryan, you're also the owner and founder of Motivated Leads. So if you just want to share a little bit about kind of what you guys do at Motivated Leads and what you're noticing that's working for real estate investors in today's market, especially like given the interest rate hike that we've had over the last 6 months and, into this new year, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So at Motivated Leads, we specialize in generating leads that turn into deals for investors. So we do digital marketing like Facebook, Google Ads, SEO, and we also do pay-per-lead marketing. And our primary purpose is to get investors leads that turn into deals. And the reason I say leads that turn into deals is because you want to always focus on the end number. I see a lot of investors get tied up with how much my cost per appointment is or how much my cost per lead is. And they lose track of what's your cost per deal. You can spend $500 for a lead if you close 1 out of 3. But if you're getting leads for $10, the same money, you're just spinning your wheels. You know what I mean? So that's what we do in a basic nutshell. What I'm seeing that people are doing that's successful are number one, being really direct with their messaging, testing different types of landing pages. So you have your core website and then constantly be testing. So in this market, things are changing so fast. So for example, whenever the hurricane just went through Tampa a couple months ago, we saw, we pivoted ads for people in Florida saying, hey, we buy flood damage houses, we buy water damage houses, things like that. And that seemed to get a really good cost per lead. So whatever market you're in, keep your ear to the stone and see, okay, what's going on here? What are sellers dealing with? And can we make creatives and ads that will relate to them? I see other things people are doing too. A lot of people try to make websites that are too fancy. So people will make websites that look corporate or look like the super fancy websites. And I've found if you think about it from a seller's point of view, like any marketing you do, always think about it from the seller side, not what you think is right. So if you're a seller and you're looking for somebody to buy your house, who are you looking for? Are you looking for the bank down the road or hedge fund? Or are you looking for John down the street with a family that flips houses and you don't think he's going to rip you off? Most of the time I've found the websites that look like normal people, normal brands with testimonials, things like that, and there's an actual person behind them, work really well. So that's a tip I can give you there. Biggest tip I can probably give you guys today, which you can integrate with your system, is whenever leads come through your website, set a text message to go out saying, hey, you just filled out a form on our site. Here's a link to our calendar to book an appointment. You'll see 34% of people will book an appointment. And we do that gauges motivation. Like if somebody's going to fill out a form, then book an appointment with me, number one, it's another hurdle. And if they're going to book an appointment with a stranger to come to their house, I'm gauging them as somewhat motivated. So if you're doing Google ads, especially, or Facebook, if you do that and it's 3 a.m, if a lead comes through and they book an appointment, you're pulling them away from Google and probably cutting out the competition as well.
Got it. And then have you noticed any difference in traffic coming from Facebook versus Google, where, I would imagine the motivation would be a little bit higher from on the traffic that's coming from Google versus Facebook, because, no one is, at least kind of what we notice in our market, like no one's really going to Facebook and trying to, find a home buyer, but people are going to Google, using these keywords like sell my house fast. So there's some sort of motivation on that individual wanting to sell their house, versus Facebook, you're just, showing this showing ads to cold traffic. So have you noticed anything, or for you guys, based on what you are doing in your business and the other investors that you guys are working with, the traffic, the ROI has been pretty good on both Facebook and Google?
The ROI is about equal, but the cost per lead's cheaper on Facebook. So you may have to get a couple more leads on Facebook than Google because the cost per click's high. Let me break. So on Google, you're bidding cost per click, right? So if you're bidding on Google, you're in direct competition with every other investor that's bidding on Google in your area. So depending on your market, and investors are aggressive, depending on where the cost per click could be. It could be $50, it could be 100. Like you're moving to San Diego, that's super expensive out there. On Facebook, we're bidding on cost per impression. So on that side, we might spend $20 to show our ad to 1,000 people. We're competing against the shoe store, the bakery, the garage down the street. So the cost to show an ad on Facebook is way cheaper than it is on Google because it's a totally different bidding strategy. So on that side, trying to think, like average cost per lead on Google, I'd say is probably like $250 across the nation. Not in, like Salt Lake City, San Diego, things like that might be $650, somewhere around there. Cost per lead on Facebook, you're probably looking like $125, $150.
Right.
But the actual,
and then on Google,
again,
go ahead. No, I was going to say on Google, you're not paying anything until somebody actually clicks on your ad, but on Facebook, whether they click or not, you're still paying for it because they just see your ad, correct?
Exactly. And on Google, if anybody here is running their own Google campaigns, go into your campaign weekly. On the left-hand side, you'll see the keywords. Click on search terms. That's the phrase that was actually searched when someone clicked your ad. And if there are any words in there that are not relevant, for example, mobile home, we see that one a lot. Most people don't want mobile homes. Take that word mobile and put it into negative keywords. That'll pause, like you will not show any more times whenever mobile home shows up, right? Also, I'm just going sideways a little bit. If you're running Google ads, there's a software called ClickCease also that tracks people based on IP address, and it helps keep the competition out. If a competitor clicks your ad once, it grabs the IP address and blacklists it and doesn't show your ad to them again. So it avoids click fraud and ringing up your bill.
But could it also do the same thing for a homeowner? Would there be an issue with that?
Yeah, but I don't want a homeowner clicking my ad twice.
I see. So if they click on it once, then, you're already retargeting them through different marketing channels. So they will see your company information, but they're not clicking again. And then you're just not paying again, though, $250 on average for the same click.
And that's a good point too, because so Facebook and Google work well together. So all the channels kind of work well together. But if somebody comes to your website on Google, they come to your website, they're just not ready to fill out a form yet. We pixel them with Facebook. Now Facebook's going to retarget them and then stay in front of them. So we have them now on our retargeting list. We're showing them ads in hopes that whenever they're ready, they come back through Facebook to fill out our form.
Got it. And then, no, that's great, man. Yeah. And in terms of like conversion, what have you noticed worked best? So we just rolled out an update over the weekend that I'm excited about. We're starting to use that in our business. So as soon as a lead comes in from Google or website, there's a couple of different triggers, but let's just talk about PPC for now. it immediately calls everyone on our team. So let's say if I'm a homeowner, I'm filling out a form on the website, I complete a step, I complete the form, it immediately calls everybody on my team. We pick up, let's say if I pick up the call, as the team member, then it calls the motivated seller and says, hey, I just noticed you're filling out a form on our website, and then it gives like the owner's name, property information, and like a couple of other pieces of information. Like, what have you noticed once somebody comes to your website in terms of converting best? Is it just sending them a text message to schedule an appointment, or is it getting them on the phone and just kind of talking through and setting up an appointment from there on the phone?
Yeah,
or
getting
make
them
an
on the
offer
phone.
even possibly.
You want to get them on the phone as fast as possible. So I'm glad you brought that back up. So I was talking about the text. The text is like a backup plan.
Got it.
Yeah, so when someone fills out a form, we want to call them immediately. We text them at the same time. So the text goes out automatically and we're calling automatically. And if they say, yeah, I just booked an appointment, then we just go into, oh, great. Well, let me just ask you a couple questions. But speed is so important in this space, especially with Google pay-per-click, because there's 3 ads up at the top. So someone might fill out yours and then the 2 underneath. First person that gets back to that lead that they feel comfortable with, a lot of times they just quit answering the phone, like for everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's what we have. The name of the feature is called Speed to Lead. It immediately somebody completes a form. It, basically within 45 to 60 seconds, it starts ringing the homeowner. So before the whole idea is before they go on to another website. That's what we noticed in PPC. When somebody's going on PPC, online, filling out a form, they're not just filling out your website, they're filling out a bunch of different websites. But if you can just call them immediately from a phone number that they see on your website and they see ringing, as soon as they complete the form on your website, then that prevents them from going on to other websites, and then you can just kind of move them into your funnel. So that's good to know.
And that's huge too. That one feature you guys have will make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, we're excited about it. So no, we already have like the bigger teams already starting to use it, just especially with the PPC. You're spending so much money on those leads. And it's not just you, especially in PPC, there's like so much competition. But if you can be the first company to reach out to that person, and it just shows that, you're like on top of these leads. Like somebody's filling out a form and they see, phone ring up from the same phone number that they saw on the website, they immediately, that starts the sales process. So we're excited about that. Cool. And then somebody asked a question. So it was ClickCease, right? Mike answered the question. It was ClickCease for the IP address.
Yeah, ClickCease, CEASE.com.
CES.
Yeah, it's cheap. Awesome. It's like $50 or something. It's not expensive.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad. Cool. All right, guys. Anybody else has any questions for Bryan related to, he does a lot, digital marketing, Facebook, PPC, or the BRRR method that he's doing in his business? Otherwise, I have some other questions prepared. I can keep asking.
Yeah, feel free, ask away, guys.
Yeah.
Quick question about your channels. Are you mainly using Google and Facebook, or do you also use other channels like Instagram, Bing?
Good question. So yeah, we're using Google pay-per-click, Facebook. We're using Instagram. We're using TikTok. We're testing TikTok. We're having some results there. We're having some results on YouTube. So YouTube seems to work all right. More for retargeting, but we're still getting some people to the website cold. When you're using multi-channels, we try to track back to it's called first click attribution. So not to get too techie, but when someone comes to your website, say in the example of Google and Facebook, we'll say those two. Someone comes through Google, fills out your form, we retarget them through Facebook. Facebook looks like it got the lead, but really, if we want to scale, we need to be able to tell they came from Google. So we try to get back to the first click attribution. So with all the channels, that's what we're also looking at too. Like, can TikTok send us or YouTube send us traffic? They're just looking for information at this point, but then Facebook retargets them, and then we can scale there. We use a software called HYROS, HYROS, to track attribution. But yeah, so to answer your question though, we are constantly testing, and they're changing so much. TikTok 6 months ago was a bunch of 20-year-olds. Now it's a bunch of adults.
Are you noticing a big difference between, like, are you having a lot of leads come through that, let's say, they saw your ad on Facebook, but they actually converted through PPC, or vice versa? They saw your ad on Google, but then they became a lead through Facebook. I'm curious, or is it usually, they see your ad and they become a lead, from the initial, the first attribution channel, then you don't even have to like retarget. I'm curious kind of if you have a big difference between, somebody seeing your ad one time becoming a lead versus you have to keep retargeting them.
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. Watching the flow, sometimes people have to see our website like 10 times. So I'll see it came from Google SEO, and then they came back through Google pay-per-click. Then they came back through Facebook. Then they came back through an email and then filled out a form. So we're seeing you have to really stay in front of people, because I'd say like 10, 15% of people fill out the form on the first time. Everybody else, you've been in front of them and then they came back. So retargeting and staying in front of people is huge, and not just doing things for 1 month. So like say any marketing, if you just do it for 1 month and you're done, you need to be staying in front of those people. It's like sending a mailer to people and expecting results off of one drop.
Right. It's what we did with our Google PPC. We're not doing it anymore. Just, when I was kind of a little bit more hands-on in my real estate investing business, what we would do is, so we had 2 or 3 different websites set up for the same market. The websites looked entirely different from each other, but they were all, different phone numbers, different brands, everything different, but they would all be our website. The whole point for us was, if somebody goes on Google, and it was set up to different Google account. So if somebody goes to Google and says, search my house fast, then, they may possibly see 3 websites, and all 3 of them could be our website. So as a homeowner, they would feel like they're filling out 3 forms, but they're actually filling out 3 forms, that look like 3 different companies, but they're all for us. Have you done anything like this? We actually closed a couple of deals from like our secondary and, third website. But again, it required a little bit more involvement from my side, so I kind of stopped doing that. But curious if you have done anything like that, or have had success doing that.
Yeah, we have. I have more success we do it on Google pay-per-click. I do the same thing. And you just have to know you're competing against yourself. So you're bumping the price up.
Right.
But
it's
okay. Like you're competing against yourself, bumping it up. In the SEO space, that's huge. Because if you can control like the first 4 spots, you're not paying to be there. And SEO leads they convert at the highest level. I think it's because it's different people that search that know to skip the ads and look at organic rankings, because we have a higher conversion with SEO. And if you can control multiple spots there under different brands, it's huge, because people think they're getting 3 different websites, but it's really 1, and you're controlling the market.
Yep, exactly. Cool. Liliana said, how do we reach Bryan? So Bryan, if you want to share your contact information, we'll also send it out in an email. But if you have it, or I can just, send it out in an email. But if you want to drop your website or your contact information in the chat, feel free.
Okay. Yeah. My website's just motivatedleads.com.
All one word, right?
Yep. Yeah. Just motivatedleads.com. Yeah. Bring up blue site. Yeah, you can always reach out that way.
Awesome. Cool. All right. And then just moving a little bit on the BRRR method that you're using, I'm curious kind of what got you into the BRRR method. Do you do any wholesale fix and flip, or just pretty much strictly BRRR method?
It's funny. I've never sold a house. So
really,
I've never sold.
That's interesting.
I kind of just hoard houses.
Right.
I got into it. My first deal was like 30 grand. I stumbled on it. It's like super cheap, needed like a ton of work. Like I literally had to replace all the plumbing in the house. Nightmare. But I bought that property and then I got my money back. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I'm like, I just need to save up enough money, because in my neighborhood, you can't really find houses that cheap. This one's just a total piece of junk. So like, okay, I need to save up enough money to buy properties cash, because once I fix them, if I buy a property for 100 grand, I put 30 into it, it appraises for 230. So even 80%, even 75%, which the banks are looking at now, I'm way overvalued for what I need a loan for. So I was looking at that, because in the beginning, I kept having to come up with like 20, 30, $40,000. And then I'd buy the property. I'd have to finance it first to buy it, put my money down, then fix it. My cash was tied up. I'm like, this sucks, because I keep having to put like 30 grand in there. Your money just runs away real fast. So then I'm like, I just got to save up enough to buy this property, like $100,000 cash, buy it, fix it. Then I go to the bank and they give me $130,000 back. And I'm like, okay, this is fun now, because it literally cost me $0 to buy houses, which is cool. You know what I mean?
And are you doing, so once you cash out, or once you do like fix up the property, are you doing any 30-year amortization loan on these, or these are all commercial loans that you have?
Yeah, they're all commercial. I'm doing a 20-year. It's adjustable every 5 though. which I didn't think ever would matter. And now it might matter,
Right.
you know?
Right. But you're buying them at a price where you still have, I mean, your cash flow is going down, but you're still cash flow positive on those properties.
Yeah. Like to give you an example, I never pull any money out of my properties. So I probably own like 5-6 million in real estate and I have about a 1.5 in debt. So my debt to property ratio is really low. But again, I'm not doing the real estate as a business. I don't need the profit. I'm pushing that money to the future just as rentals.
Got it. All right. So if somebody's starting out in BRRRR Method right now, given what the interest rate is, what would you recommend them, to look for in a property? Like what's the minimum cash flow they should have, if they're going down the same route as you are?
So the safe bet that I've always used, and you can use really quick math, depending on what your taxes are. Taxes are the wild card. Like I know what taxes in my neighborhood are going to be like $4,000 a year. So if your taxes are like
what, $4,000 a year on what, and how much is the property worth?
100,
You said 100,000.
200. Yeah, the taxes are kind of high. Yeah, so if I buy a house for 100, it'll probably appraise it too. Yeah, our school taxes are real high. School, state, and local. What is it? School tax. There's 3 of them, but they end up being like 4,000 a year. But what I'm looking at is whatever the total cash I have into the property, not what the property is worth, the cash that I have into it, I want it to rent for 1.5%. So if it's $100,000 property, I need $1,500 a month rent. $200,000 property would have to rent for $3,000.
Are you still able to find those properties in the market?
Sometimes. That's the number, the ideal number I want. The bare number I'll go to is 1%. So $100,000 property, $1,000 a month rent. I'll usually end up being around like 1.2%.
Right. And do you have a property management company in place, or are you managing them yourself since, they're all within driving distance from where you live?
I managed them for the first couple and that sucked. So yeah, I have 2 property managers now.
Okay.
So
and are they large property management companies, or have you noticed a difference between like working with like a local guy that's helping you manage these properties?
They're both local. The one I use, I was actually both of these guys' first clients on property management. They're both investors and they started branching into property management. So if you guys are looking for property managers and you can find investors that are actually managing their own properties and are getting into property management, I found success with that. The first one I have, they've been with me since my first property. They manage like 2,500 properties now, but I was their first. The second one doesn't take many investors as clients, but they have a portfolio of about 700 properties. So they manage all their own stuff. And then they do like 20 or 30 investors as well. I've found when looking for property managers, find the guys that are investors, find the guys that have in-house crews that work on their properties versus them having to call whoever in when you have something to fix. And that's been pretty well. And then communication, and then the property managers that will vet you, like ask you, what's your property condition like? Things like that. I found that's pretty good because they're picky on who they take on because they want to give a good experience to the tenants. So, and that means that they want to like keep up on things. So I found, if that makes sense, because they like my one, they're
absolutely.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you're buying these all from your own marketing. For your own business, the marketing that you're doing is all digital. Are you doing any direct mail or any of the marketing do?
No, I used to do direct mail. I had decent success with that. I don't do it anymore though.
So you're just doing digital marketing like Facebook and PPC.
Yep.
So if somebody was just getting started, right? Or somebody who's done some cold calling, direct mail, has had some success, and then they wanted to get into digital marketing space, would you recommend they start with Facebook or Google PPC, or they have a combination of both, just like kind of you have for retargeting purposes?
Yeah, it's going to come down to budget. So I would say if you have a budget of, let's say $1,500 per month, and you're going to do this on your own, I would start with Facebook. $50 a day to start would be sufficient, as long as you're driving traffic through a website and you have proper conversion tracking, things like that. Google, on the other hand, I'd probably, Google's going to be market specific. Normally, I'd recommend $2,500 a month ad spend, just because the cost per clicks are high. If you're in a really competitive market, though, that might not be enough. So I would start probably with Facebook, but if you have budget, you can do them both. I mean, it's kind of per case basis there.
Yeah, the challenge that we've run into our market is like our PPC leads are really good, but we're in a small market, Lake County, Indiana. Even, I mean, the population is like 400,000-500,000. And even in that market, like we have 1 or 2 cities that we don't buy in because either they're like too expensive for it, for it to make sense for us, or they're just like the neighborhood. So that leaves like just like maybe 200-250,000 population that we're targeting. And we have a budget of like 3,000, but we can never actually we don't ever end up reaching that budget. So any like, best practice on that, on how we could do that, it's just like, we have $100 a day to spend on that, but we end up spending like 1,500 to 2,000 a month, just because there's not enough traffic in our market.
Yeah, what I would do is remind me to talk about JV too. What I found on that with the areas that like I don't want. But what I would do in the Google Ads campaign, look in your campaign and under I think it's under columns, click that and add search impressions into your columns. What that's going to do, it's going to show what percentage of the search impressions you have. So what you're looking for there is if it's showing you have like 50% search impressions, that means you're kind of tapping out the market. You're on the upper side. If it shows you have under 10%, that means you need to optimize your campaigns better. But if you're at, say you have a higher search impression, you may need to add broader keywords. You may need to add more keywords, because on search impressions, 100% share means your ad is showing 100% of the time. If it's 10%, that means you're only showing 10%, most likely due to budget. But if you're not able to spend more, I'm going to guess your search impression share is higher, which might mean that you need to broaden your keywords if you can and do that efficiently. So that's what I would look at.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's where, I mean, maybe we're just like way too tight on the keywords that we're using in our marketing campaign. And we can't ever seem to like spend all the budget that we have allocated for it. So I'll go back and check on that.
Do you know if
Mike?
I was just gonna ask real quick. Do you know if you're targeting broad keywords, phrase, or exact match by any chance?
I think we're not doing broad. I know that we're doing like phrases, and exact match is kind of what we're doing. I used to do my own PPC like into 2-3 years ago. It was kind of fun, like you could like really nerd out on that stuff, but then it just got to be too much. And, we hired someone to do that, but yeah, I know they're not using broad. And then every time we get like a lead that, for example, had, Remax in it, Macaulay in it, then we would just keep adding those to negative keywords. So we never showed on those market. And then there's like 1 or 2 cities that we don't want to buy anything in. They still end up showing like every now and then, like maybe 2 out of 10 leads would be from that city. Even after we're done all the negative keywords and everything, we still end up getting a couple of leads in that market. So you said you had some thoughts on JV in that, curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. First, even on that, on your campaign, one thing, if it's not spending, also look at the conversion, like what you're targeting. Is it, so you have the different objectives. Are you doing maximized conversion? Are you doing targeted cost per conversion? So I see some people also might set, it's like TCPA is what it's called. It's when you say, I want to spend $200 a lead. And then you kind of let the algorithm put it in front of people trying to get you that lead. A lot of times, if your target conversion is too low, it won't spend. I would also try tossing some broad keywords in there too, and just make sure your negative list is good. Just to see, because your algorithm's a lot better than it was 3 years ago.
Right. And then even if you get some leads in a city that you don't want to buy, you're JVing with other investors in the market.
Yeah. So when I first started digital marketing in my city to test it out, I don't want any of the leads because I don't want properties. I don't want to drive more than like 5 minutes because I'm busy. Right. So I get leads all over the county because you can only target county or 15-mile radius. So what I did was I went into the Facebook groups and posted in there, and I got burned like 5 times, but I ended up finding a guy. In all my leads that I didn't want in the areas, I sent him to him, and he's a wholesaler in Pittsburgh, and we just split him 50-50. So I just send him leads. If he closed them, I get a check in a couple months. So a lot of people disregard, like throw away leads. They're like, I don't want them. Somebody usually, I mean, unless they're really, really bad neighborhoods, there's usually someone that wants leads in some of those areas. So just find them, and it's found money.
So you're just sending the leads over. You're not qualifying them. You're just saying, hey, there's a lead. Hey, do whatever you want to do. If you close on it, send me a check for 50%.
Yep. Yeah. I just automated it. Yeah. They just went over to him. I didn't do anything. You can qualify him if you want, but I didn't have the time.
Got it. Okay. And Mike had a question. I think this is related to the BRRR method. So that does the number include rehab or just the buy price? I think when you were talking about the rent that you're getting, that's your total cost, including purchase price and rehab. So your target is to get 1.5%. So if you buy the property for 70, you put 30 into it. So your total cost is 100,000, and then you're expected to get $1,500 a month in rent out of it.
Correct. Yeah, I'm including my rehab cost there.
Cool. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah, Bryan, I want to ask you, like, if some of us on the call want to work with you, like, how can your company Motivated Leads help investors, get more leads, get more high quality leads? So if you want to share a little bit about that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So we have two different models we help investors with. The first one is we'll run your campaigns for you. So you would just pay us. We'll create your Facebook account or Facebook ads. We'll run it in your account. We'll send all the traffic to your website. Same with Google, same with SEO. Like, we'll run everything under your brand. The second thing we offer, because a lot of investors I talk to say, I don't care about my brand. I just want leads. So the second option is we'll just market under our brand in your area, and we'll sell you leads on an a la carte basis. So the custom marketing has a monthly fee plus ad spend. This pay-per lead model is just you pay a la carte per lead.
And then is that nationwide for the second model?
Yep. Yeah, anywhere in the nation. Yeah, both of them are pretty much anywhere. You'll tell us, hey, we can mainly do it by county. So you say, okay, I want deals in these counties. And then, yeah, we market there to get leads.
And if I just want to do certain cities in a county, can you do that too?
We can do, on the custom marketing, when we're managing your Facebook and Google, we can. It's usually within a 15-mile radius on Facebook, and we can get a little creative on Google, but we still can't get to very specific, like, zip codes. They don't allow us to do that specific, just because it's in real estate. But yeah, we can get more specific than county on the custom marketing.
Got it. Cool. And then the best way for anybody to get in touch with you is to go to your website, motivatedleads.com. We'll include the link in the follow-up email that we send out, but that's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yep. Yeah, it's the best way. We got all kind of information on there, testimonials. We have blogs with tips and all kinds of good stuff.
Cool. Yeah. No, Claire said, sorry, got a call, got to go. Thanks for all the info. We'll finish watching the rest from the recording. Cool. Yeah. Anyone else has any other questions for Bryan? I know we're getting, we're 45 minutes into the call, so I want to respect Bryan's time. So if anybody else has any other questions for Bryan, cool. All right. Thank you so much, Bryan. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much for your time. So I have the contact information. We'll send it out to everyone. Like, it's a lot of people go back and watch the recording just because, we do it on Tuesday in the middle of the day. So we don't get as many people live on the call, but a lot of people go back and watch the recording. So we'll send it out, include your contact information, and then, you can help them out from there.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, anyone, yeah, feel free. If you have any questions, reach out. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you for coming on the call, man.
Hey, thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, guys. So that's it for this week's Mastermind call. We're going to have another guest on next week's call. So I'm excited to bring some other industry experts on these calls so they can kind of share some, really cool things that they're doing. So I wasn't, with the things that Bryan is doing, I think I'm going to reach out to him and have some of those things implemented in our business, especially on the remarketing side on the Facebook. We had an agency to help us with our Facebook ads, but that didn't go so well. We've tried a couple of different agencies just for cold traffic, but hasn't really worked out well. But with what Bryan is doing, I think that's kind of cool to integrate your Facebook ads with Google ads. So you're doing retargeting. So you have, especially on the Facebook side, you're targeting a little bit warm leads versus just cold traffic. So I'm excited about that. Any other questions you guys have for me that I can help you with before we end the call? Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next week call. And we'll send out an email with the guests that we're going to have on the call. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Thanks.